Good morning. Hi, Dora and Sue. Um, Happy Friday. We made it through to the end of the week. Hooray. Um, so, uh, probably going to be a nice day. Still getting work done on the porch, so that's good. Um, Still election, right? Still up in the air. Um, don't know what's going to happen about that. It may take a few days before we know everything, uh, which is fine. Um, I don't know if I said yesterday. Maybe I did, but yeah, that um, December 8th is the first deadline to get the get the votes in. So potentially, it could take a long time. I don't think it will, but I guess it could have and probably had in the past. Um, so we're just going to wait and see what happens. Hopefully, again, sending out positive thoughts for um, peace. And um, I feel so bad for the poll workers. Um, just it's so much work and so long, and so just taking such a long time to get done. I'm sure that they have other things that they probably wanted to be doing with their life um, instead of being a vote counter for days and days. But um, I guess it's probably a pretty uh, momentous event, something you can certainly look back on and say, that you were helping in the process of that. Um, and I think it's very interesting. I remember watching election results in the past and them calling states and saying that absentee ballots were still out, and but that they rarely, I don't remember them ever having any real impact on the results. Whereas now it's completely opposite. Um, and I think it's very interesting. I hope that states will continue to allow voting by mail and voting online, and making voting as easy as you possibly can, so that more people will be involved. I love that large quantities of people are voting now, more than perhaps um, ever before. I mean, certainly in volume more, but of course we have a larger population as well. So I'll be very interested in you know, the post mortem after this whole thing is done, to find out what the percentage of voters compared to previous years. What the percentage of people who voted compared to people who were eligible to vote was. Um, I think that's really important. And I think it is really important, especially for groups and areas of the country that believe that maybe their voice didn't really matter because of the way, their state was drawn up, or um, just the demographics of their area. They felt like they did not, why even vote? Why even bother? And maybe it's turning out that, yeah, when enough people do vote, it really does matter, and makes a difference. So this is a good thing. I hope that people will continue to have their voice heard. Um, it's very important, um, and always has been. But I think we took it for granted for a lot of years. And I hope that will be changing. Um, all right, so here we are, and we got the last niyama. which is the longest name, Isvara Pranidhana. Isvara Pranidhana, which means, um, so it isn't a simple, right? It isn't a simple word, or, like it's kind of a concept. Um, and what it means is basically turning your life over to God, to the universe, to the greater self, um, getting out of the way, right? Um, a lot of times we put ourselves first. We put our interests first. Um, we always think of things in terms of, how will it affect me? What will I get out of this? Um, what's the benefit for me? And Ishvara Pranidhana asks us to stop doing that. Instead, think of the larger body, people in general, um, the world in general. And if we can shift our focus, um, we will reap the benefit. The idea being, what's good for the world is good for us. What's good for our community is good for us. Um, we only make errors and big mistakes when we think just about what we perceive is in our benefit, right? And that's the important part. We don't always know what's best for us, right? We don't. We think we do. We covet certain things. We have goals sometimes that are very small and kind of selfish. Um, and we think these are the things that will make us happy. We think if we can just get these things, everything will be great, right? Um, if I can just get that um, promotion, if I can just get that bigger house, or I don't know, whatever it is, right? We postpone our happiness. We allow ourselves to be in the state of dissatisfaction, thinking there is something out there that is going to solve this for us. We can just get it. We just have to get it. Right? In truth, there is nothing that will make you happy. Right? It doesn't matter how many things you buy, how many places you go, whatever it is, it won't really make you happy. Um, you might have some short term enjoyment. And that's not to say you shouldn't buy things or go places, but don't rely on them for anything except enjoyment. Um, rely on this larger goal, right? What are you doing to further that goal, right? Um, when we can think in a larger sense, we are going to um, have better success, right? I mean, it is, um, there is an energy proponent or a component of this, right? So when you get out of your way, when you get yourself out of the picture and you just work for others, you work for the good of humanity, the benefit, right? There's a benefit because you are doing things in a selfless way. You are going to reap benefit from that. Which, I mean, it doesn't really make sense in a way, right? In our small thinking, we don't buy that. We are like, how's that going to work, right? But in truth, that is how it works. You are going to be equally benefited by those works, and um, we are going to achieve things that we never would have thought possible, right? I mean, we can look at the election, right? I mean, this is what happens when a large number of people start thinking the same way. Um, Look at things like, I mean, I kind of hate, I hate the GoFundMe, right? I sort of hate that because I think it's criminal in some ways that people end up, you know, covering the shortfall of our healthcare system by having to, panhandle so their child cannot be ill anymore. I hate that, but I also love the idea, right? I love the idea that a bunch of people could put a couple dollars in for something that they care about, and they can move a mountain that way. Um, we discount this, right? We think it's all about us. We think, oh, I, you know, I got to do stuff for me. And also, I can only do so much, right? I'm just one person. How am I going to get anything done? Well, that may be true. You are just one person. So rather than struggle with your one self, put that together, right? Make that part of a larger self and see what happens. Um, Ishvara Pranidhana is that belief. It's a surrender of self to the greater um, self, right? Big S, self. So we talk about this little self, big self, little love, big love, right? Um, Everything that's in the big way can also be smaller, but we lose something, right? When it gets small, um, the bigger we can be, the better, right? So, um, and I mean, Ishvara Pranidhana is it is a spiritual thing, and it's um, right. We talk about God, and but wouldn't have to be like if you aren't really. I mean, if you aren't really religious in that way, it could be the greater good, right? It could be the larger community, being committed to working to improve the lives of people in your community, in your state, in your country, in your world, whatever resonates with you, right? Ishvara Pranidhana doesn't tell you what to believe or which God to follow or which group you should think is important, but it tells you to find one. Find one. Um, find something bigger than yourself and see what you can do to work for it, to work towards it. Um, you'll be amazed at the results. You really will. And um, again, it's much easier to see the workings when you are going with the flow and again, not against it, right? Um, so we may feel that we are just one little person out here in the middle of nowhere. Um, but when you join with people who think similarly, um, you can move a mountain. So find those people, find that purpose. Um, and the successes and failures, right? Because there will be always successes and failures, but they are much easier to take when you're part of something bigger. Um, it isn't. It isn't maybe, and I think it also helps us, right, to understand this. We talk about this in yoga and other places too. This idea that no one succeeds or fails on their own. Um, you may think, if you are a successful human being, that it's all due to, you know, what a great person you are, right? How smart you are, how educated you are, um, all of these things that you've accomplished. And in truth, that is true. There is a lot of personal responsibility when it comes to this stuff. But there's also the place and time that you were born. Um, the fact that, we aren't in a war torn zone with, lawless bandits running up and down the street. I mean, there are a lot of things that go into your success that don't have anything to do with your own efforts. The same thing with failure, right? We maybe we did make a big mistake, right? Maybe we did something wrong, um, made a big error, or maybe we did everything right and it just all fell apart. Um, Again, it's hard to say, and when we are working in a larger sense, um, it's it's more understandable. We get it, right? We get that, and it's a burden that we lift off of ourselves, right? Nobody has a problem taking credit for the good things in their life, but um, it's harder when you have failures. We try to blame other people. We try to, shift it off of us. In truth, there's no reason to blame anyone, but that's true also for success, right? Um, to take it on yourself is to misappropriate responsibility and benefit, right? So Isvara Pranidhana helps us see things in a larger picture. Um, that our efforts are important, but they aren't the only thing. Um, we we exist as part of a larger whole, and that is really, you know, that's really our goal. We want that to be our goal, um, making things better for everyone because we are all one, right? Right? We're all one. We're all one. If it's going to help other people, it's going to help you. Um, Directly, maybe, or maybe indirectly, but it's going to happen. And what I like about Ishvara Pranidhana is um, you can't, right? It's easy to get confused, um, or I should say, confused, or maybe just not necessarily confused, but you talk yourself into doing things, right? You convince yourself that what you're doing is not selfish, is not. Um, it's like the person who, I mean, uh, the really, uh, you know, grievous example of this is when the person, the husband buys a bowling ball for his wife. That's a terrible example. That's like from the 1950s or something, right? But so you buy something that you really want and give it to someone as a gift, knowing that you'll get to use it, right? Um, that's an example of, right, doing something that you think, oh, it's so nice. I'm giving them a gift. You are, but you're not. It's not a real gift. And some people really don't get that. Like they really are stuck on the idea that they're giving a gift, and it doesn't really matter that everything they're doing is for their own benefit. Um, when you take yourself out of there and you're working for Ishvara Pranidhana, um, you can't make those type of errors. Even if you are unsure of your judgment, um, you won't fall into that trap. You will always be um, right taking yourself out of it, which is helpful, I think. A lot of times we spend a great deal of time working on ourselves and thinking about ourselves, and you know, in our own heads. So getting out of there and um, really focusing on what other people are doing, what other people need, can be, really, really good for us in the long term. All right. So there are your niyamas. The niyamas are our internal ethics. They are what prepare us, get us in the right frame of mind, pardon me, to then move into the external ethics. Right? If we can get the niyamas sorted, we're going to have less trouble with the yamas. The yamas will come naturally, or ish, right? All right, so we will revisit these because we do every year or so. I think we've done it twice this year, but some years I think we need this more more than others. So, all right, so let's do some asana. Sitting up tall. Breathe. Notice how everything is doing today. One more breath, and then chin down toward the chest. Start moving around. Big circle. One way and then the other. Back to center. Lean forward and then moving around. One way and the other. Back up to your seat, arms wide. Deep breath, exhale, hands together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Interlace the fingers. Lift the hands. Let's gaze up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. And lower. Lift. And lower. Once more, lifting up. Right hand comes down, reach across with the left. Switch sides. Back up. Lift the shoulders, roll back. And forward. Right hand on left knee, left arm behind you, sit up tall, and then twist. Back to center, and moving to the other direction. the center, tabletop. Let's do a few sets of cat-cow. Inhaling and exhaling. And then sitting back on the heels. Moving back up. Tabletop, we're going to swing the right leg around. So we're up on that left knee, arms up overhead. And then hands to center. Take a deep breath. Twisting to the right. Back to center, right hand down by the foot. Lifting the left arm. Both hands down to the mat. Walking out a little. Into a lizard. And then let's walk that foot across for your pigeon, or however you want to get into pigeon. You could also do supine pigeon if this feels a little too much for today. Breathe. Coming back up, we're going to plant the hands, lift up, Three-legged dog. And then set the foot back down. Drop the knees back into child's pose. Maybe bring the knees a little wider than you normally do. Moving back up. Tabletop. Swing the left leg around. Arms overhead. And then hands to center. Moving to the left. Back to center. Left hand down by the foot, right arm lifts. And then both hands down. Kind of walking things out a little. Or lizard. Breathe. And then walk your foot across. Finding a good place to be here for pigeon. And moving back up. Plant your hands. Get the back foot set up. And then lifting up. Set your feet down. Drop the knees and back into child's pose. Coming back up, tabletop to downward dog. Come on forward to high plank. And lower down. Head turns right, arms by your side. Breathe. Moving back. Set up for cobra here. So hands are about chest height. Squeezing elbows close. Tops of the feet rest on the mat. And then we're lifting up, head and chest. Cover the hands, breathe. And lower. Head turns left. Head to center. Let's bring the arms out in front. We're going to roll onto the side. Bend the top knee. And you can extend, right, holding onto the leg. If you can grab a hold of the toe, we'll do that. So we are stretching here, but also balancing. You can always bend the bottom knee if you need a little more stability. And release it, rolling onto the other side. Same thing. See? I bet you thought I could never roll over, but I can. Keep breathing. Bend the knee. Set the leg back down. And then we're going to scoot over. If you've come off your mat, like me, just getting comfortable on your back. A couple of breaths, and then we're going to hug this left or right leg in. Left leg is long. Lowering that right knee out to the side. Rest of the body rests on the mat. Bringing that knee back to center and then across the body, rolling up on the left hip. Back to center. Switch legs. Hugging the left leg in. Take some breaths. Then lowering the knee out to the left. Back to center and then coming across the body with the leg. And then everything back to center. Extend both legs long. Arms out to a T, 5-pointed star. Bringing everything back to center. Bend the knees, soles of the feet to the mat. You could do regular bridge or supported bridge. Take your pick. Lifting up. Breathe. So what I like about supported bridge is if you have some movement, and some of us do, in the pelvic area, um, sometimes things will move around a little bit. And frequently people will get, issues like sciatica or just like a pinch or just something feels a bit off down there. This can really help. Just being on this block where you've got this stability, but there's also some softness to it. And you can, the pressure of that and then your body weight sort of pressing down on it often helps kind of stabilize everything and get it back in a good, comfortable position. So, and you'll learn, like as you do this, you'll learn kind of where you need the block to be and what works for you. So don't be afraid to experiment a little. Try, you could turn the block lengthwise. Some people like that. Just see what feels right. If it doesn't feel good, then switch it around. But if it feels good, then you're probably in the right place. And then rising up, resting back on the mat, soles of the feet together, knees apart. Maybe bring hands up over your head if that is a good thing for you. And then we're going to move into Shavasana. So you could stay where you are, you could extend the legs and the arms. If there's something that you want to do, an extra pose or something just to get yourself ready, that's fine. Finding your um, peaceful place on the mat. Breathe. Let everything fall away. When we talk about Isvara Pranidhana, we are touching on um, this idea of Dharma. And Dharma is our destiny, right? It's our goal. What are we here for? Um, what is, um, what's our job, right? These are big questions, questions we may ponder our entire life. Um, but I think people are often put off by Dharma because they think it's a big thing. They think they're destined for greatness, right? um, they think that they have to discover what this is, right? This ultimate um, accomplishment that they are about to get. But Dharma can be as simple as being there for someone else. Maybe that is the part you were meant to play there. Maybe when you were kind um, to that person who asked you for directions, maybe you helped them get to where they needed to go, which in turn then let something else happen. I mean, we talk about this that we don't know the consequences of our actions. Small, good acts could lead to great things. Similarly, um, cruel things, unkind things that we do could also turn into something quite bad. Um, our job is to not really think about the big picture so much. Don't try to imagine what's down the line. Instead, what's in front of you now? What can you do today to further the Dharma? Um, what could you do that would be kind and helpful? What could you do that is a positive action? It doesn't have to be monumental, right? Small things build into big things. Um, I think of a story I read about a woman an older woman who lived in a tiny little apartment with barely any possessions. Um, and when she died, she had just a few things. Her friends came, packed up her belongings in a small suitcase. She left notes, to give a few of her things to her friends. Um, and many of the people that she knew didn't know a lot about her. Um, they just knew she was a kind woman who lived simply. At her funeral, there were thousands of people that had known her throughout her life, that she had touched in some way. Um, People told stories of what they had achieved in their life due to her influence, what she encouraged in them, in each of them. So, in the end, that is what we want, right? We want to have an influence to make the world a better place in any way we can. Not by trying to figure out what we want to do, but by following the steps that are laid out in front of us, the opportunities that we're given every single day to do good, to do the right thing, to help others. Follow that path. See where it leads. We don't have to, right? We don't have to see the top of the staircase to know we're on the steps. So moving then, fingers and toes, hands and feet. And making your way up to a seat. We've got hands together for a deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking some time today for yoga and for sharing it with me. I hope you have a great Friday. Namaste. Thank you. I'm going to jump right into meditation. Here we go. I didn't have this set up. I should have. All right. So, comfortable seat, regular breath, just relaxing and just holding everything very loosely. Don't feel any tension or stress. Okay, coming back to everyday awareness. We're here. Have a good Friday. Don't stare at the TV too much watching the election. Do something fun. And I will be back tomorrow for Saturday's class.